If you drive like it's still last year's rules, 2026 can quietly punish you. Not with drama, with paperwork, points, and costs you don't see coming. And one tiny detail most drivers ignore is now the easiest way to get flagged. This hits commuters, parents, delivery drivers, and anyone who borrows a car. Before we get into it, lock in your protection. Will you subscribe now so you stay ahead of the next rule shift? Not because you need a channel, but because you need a heads up before the ticket shows up. I'll keep these updates practical, calm, and focused on what you do in the driver's seat. That way you're not guessing while everyone else learns the hard way. Here's what's at risk in 2026. Your license status, your insurance price, and your time. The part nobody tells you is how fast small violations stack into big consequences. Today, you'll learn the 10 changes showing up in more places, how to spot them locally, and what to adjust. Stay to the end, because I'll reveal that small detail most people miss, and it's simpler than you think. Quick trust check. I'm not here to scare you or act like every rule is the same everywhere. Driving laws are local, and you should verify what applies where you live and where you travel. What I can do is show the patterns regulators are using in 2026 and how to stay compliant across the board. You'll feel guided, not overwhelmed, and you'll leave with a clear plan. Attention reset. If you only remember one thing so far, remember this. A lot of 2026 enforcement isn't about an officer watching you anymore. It's about systems, paperwork, and automated proof that you did or didn't follow the rule. That's why I didn't know doesn't protect you the way it used to. Let's start with a change that sneaks into your day without you noticing. Hands-free got stricter. In many areas, it's no longer about whether you were texting. It's about whether you handled the device at all while you were in control of the vehicle. That includes those moments you mentally file under "I was basically stopped." So what does "in control" mean in real life? If you're in a travel lane, if the engine is on, if you're creeping forward, you're usually considered driving. That means picking the phone up to glance at a notification can now be treated like a full violation. Your best move is to set up what you need before you roll. Now the second shift, screens inside the car are getting treated like distractions too. It's not just your phone, it's the big center display, the built-in apps, and the pop-ups. Many places are rewriting rules to target manual interaction while moving. Translation: fewer taps, more voice, and more preset choices before you leave. Attention reset. Notice the pattern. The rule isn't trying to judge your intent, it's trying to reduce hands-off-the-wheel moments. You may feel like a quick tap is harmless, but enforcement often doesn't care how quick it felt. In 2026, the cleanest habit is set it, then forget it. Third change, penalties are trending toward multiplier consequences instead of one-time fines. A ticket isn't always just a ticket anymore. It can trigger fees, classes, points, or insurance changes. Even if the law doesn't force the insurance increase, many drivers still see it after a violation shows up. And that's where the math starts hurting. Here's a simple numbers example, just to show the shape of it. Say you get a $180 citation for a distracted driving rule in your area. Now imagine your insurance goes up $22 a month for 12 months after renewal. That's $180 plus $264, meaning the real cost is $444 for one quick look. Are you the kind of driver who wants a monthly rule check like this so you're not guessing later? Fourth change is the one most drivers miss, and I'm going to tease it now. It's not about speeding, and it's not about your phone. It's about something you look at every day and still don't notice until it's too late. In a minute, I'll explain how it gets enforced and how to fix it in under 2 minutes. Before we reveal it, let's cover a shift that's reshaping the road. Automated enforcement is expanding. More cameras, more plate readers, more red light and speed capture, and more mailed notices. Some areas also hold the registered owner responsible unless they follow a specific dispute process. So you can do nothing wrong in the moment and still get a letter later. Myth versus truth time. Myth: if you didn't get pulled over, you're safe. Truth: in many places, the enforcement event and the penalty are now separated by days or weeks. That delay tricks people into repeating the same behavior because nothing happened immediately. Attention reset. This is where smart drivers get ahead. You stop thinking, "Where are the cops?" and start thinking, "What would be recorded?" Because cameras don't negotiate, and they don't forget the one time you were in a rush. That mindset shift alone prevents a ton of surprise tickets. Now let's talk about extreme speed. A lot of jurisdictions are drawing a harder line between over the limit and dangerous over the limit. Instead of treating it as a routine infraction, they escalate it to a more serious category. And that change can affect your license status, not just your wallet. Here's the practical way to handle it without obsessing. Pick a buffer that keeps you calm, like matching the flow but not trying to lead the flow. Watch for limit changes near ramps, curves, and town lines, because that's where people get caught. And if you're using cruise control, remember hills and downslopes can push you higher than you feel. Fifth change. Sensitive zones are getting more protective and enforcement is getting less forgiving. School areas, work zones, and dense residential streets often see lower limits and higher penalties. Even if the numbers vary where you live, the trend is consistent. These zones are treated as high-priority safety spaces, so your normal speed habit may suddenly be the expensive habit. Attention reset. If you drive the same route every day, this matters more, not less. You stop reading signs because your brain fills in what it expects. But when limits change, your routine becomes the trap. In 2026, treat familiar roads like they can surprise you. Sixth change. Move over and slow down rules are expanding in many places. It used to be focused on emergency vehicles. Now some areas include any stopped vehicle with hazards or roadside workers. Even when you can't move over, you're often required to reduce speed and create space. This is one of those rules that's easy to violate while you're trying to be polite and keep traffic moving. So here's the step-by-step driver's seat version. If you see flashing lights ahead, decide early. Can you safely change lanes with a big gap? If yes, do it smoothly, not at the last second. If no, slow down and give the widest buffer you can without causing a new hazard. Seventh change. Seatbelt responsibility is shifting from the driver only to everybody in the car. Many areas are tightening how they treat unbelted rear passengers. The logic is simple. In a crash, an unbelted person becomes a force that hurts themselves and others. So even if you're a careful driver, you can still be penalized for what your passengers choose. Here's a second numbers example, again just to show the shape of consequences. Imagine you get a $60 ticket for a rear seat passenger not buckled. Now imagine you miss the payment window and it adds a $25 late fee, then another $15 processing fee. That's $60 plus $40, turning into $100 because of one forgotten click and one ignored envelope. Attention reset. Notice how boring the mistake is. Most driving pain in 2026 isn't dramatic. It's small, preventable, and easy to repeat. That's why we're building simple habits, not perfect behavior. Good systems beat good intentions. Eighth change, license renewal and eligibility checks are getting more structured. Some places are adding or enforcing vision screenings, retests, or documentation steps that used to be skipped. This can hit older drivers, but it can also hit anyone who moved, changed names, or let a renewal lapse. If you wait until the last week, you might be stuck not driving while you sort it out. So do this early. Check your renewal date and your required steps well before it expires. If you need a test, schedule it. Don't assume walk-ins exist. If you wear corrective lenses, confirm your prescription is current for driving. And keep your key documents in one folder so you're not hunting the night before. Want a follow-up video that helps you build a license-safe folder and reminders that actually work for you? Ninth change. Impaired driving enforcement is getting broader, and the definition of impaired can be more than alcohol. Different areas handle this differently, so I'm going to stay general on purpose. The trend is more roadside screening options and less tolerance for borderline situations. If you feel mostly fine, that's not the same as safe and legal. The smartest rule is personal and simple. If there's any doubt, don't drive. Have a plan before you go out, not after. And remember that prescription or over-the-counter meds can affect reaction time even if you don't feel drunk. If you're unsure, verify the guidance through official channels and talk to a professional you trust. Attention reset. This is also where scammers show up. If you ever get a call, text, or email claiming you owe money for a driving violation, slow down. Never share codes, never click unknown links, and never trust caller ID as proof. Call back using the official number from your own records, not the one they give you. 10th change. Vehicle technology is creating new rule categories. That includes electric vehicle fees in some areas, charging etiquette enforcement, and rules around where you can stop or park while connected. It also includes new expectations for driver assist systems. You may be required to stay attentive even if the car helps. The machine assisting you doesn't transfer responsibility away from you. Now, let's open the most drivers miss this detail again, because you've probably guessed wrong. It's not some secret loophole, and it's not a rare situation. It's a visibility issue that enforcement tools love because it's easy to prove, and it's one of the cheapest fixes you'll ever make. Here it is. License plate visibility rules are being enforced harder in more places. Covers, tinted shields, reflective sprays, dirty plates, bent plates, and even bulky frames can make characters harder to read. As plate readers become more common, unreadable plates don't just get ignored, they get flagged, and a lot of drivers break this rule without realizing they did anything at all. Attention reset. This is the one small detail most people miss, and it matters for two reasons. First, it can trigger stops or tickets even if your driving is perfect. Second, it complicates everything else, because plates are how systems match a car to an event. If your plate can't be read, you look suspicious even when you aren't. So, what do? Step by step. Walk to the back and front of your car and look at your plate like a camera would. Can you clearly read every letter and number from several car lengths away in normal light? If not, remove the cover, swap the frame, clean the plate, and make sure nothing blocks it. Now let's make this practical with a common mistakes moment, because this is where good drivers get caught. Mistake 1 is treating a red light like a break from driving and grabbing the phone for 1 second. Mistake 2 is using speakerphone with the phone in your hand and calling it hands-free. Mistake 3 is letting passengers skip seatbelts because we're just going around the corner. Mistake 4 is ignoring zone changes because the road feels the same, especially near schools and work areas. Mistake 5 is assuming you'll notice enforcement because you're watching for police cars, not cameras. Mistake 6 is forgetting that plate covers and frames can be illegal, even if the plate is still kind of readable. None of these mean you're a bad driver. They mean you're a human with routines. If you've ever thought, this doesn't apply to me, check these 3 situations. If you do delivery, rideshare, or drive for work, you're exposed more hours, so tiny odds hit you more often. If you drive kids or relatives, you're responsible for belts, stops, and choices other people make in your car. If you travel across cities or regions, the same habit can be legal in one place and costly in another. Attention reset. You don't need to memorize 10 laws. You need a few strong habits that survive different local rule books. That's the goal here. Keep you safe, legal, and calm even when the rules shift. So let's turn everything into actions you can do today. Do this today. Mount your phone where you can see navigation without holding it and set your route before you move. Do this today. Turn on voice controls you actually use and remove the apps that tempt you while driving. Do this today. Clean your plates, remove covers, and check that frames don't block any characters. Do this today. Tell every passenger, every ride, buckle up before we roll, and wait for it. Do this today. Look up your license renewal date and create a reminder that triggers a month early. Do this today. Decide your plan for nights out before you go, so you're not negotiating with yourself later. Do this today. Drive sensitive zones like cameras are present even when the street looks empty. Do this today. Save the official contact method for your local authority so you can verify notices safely. Would you rather learn these updates as they happen, or find out when the first penalty lands on your record? Let's recap in clear words so it sticks. In 2026, enforcement leans more automated, and the "I meant well" defense matters less. Phone rules often focus on handling the device at all, not just texting. Screens, zone speeds, and move-over behaviors are being treated as high-impact safety priorities. Extreme speed is more likely to be treated as a serious offense, not a routine ticket. Seatbelt responsibility is widening to everyone in the vehicle, not only the driver. Renewals and eligibility checks can require more steps, so last-minute renewals are riskier. Impairment enforcement is broader, and the safest plan is zero doubt before you drive. And the detail most drivers miss is plate visibility. If your plate can't be read cleanly, you draw attention fast, especially with modern reader systems. The fix is usually cheap and immediate, and it prevents a surprising amount of trouble. That's why I teased it early, because it's the easiest win in the whole list. Attention reset. You're not powerless here. You don't need to predict every new rule. You need to tighten the basics that laws keep targeting. When you build those habits, your driving gets smoother, your risk drops, and your stress drops with it. That's the real benefit. You feel in control again. One final warning before you go. Scammers love moments like this, when people are unsure what's real, so verify any notice through official channels and never share codes or payment details. If something feels urgent and confusing, that's your cue to slow down, not speed up. You keep yourself safest by acting calm and checking facts before you react. Here's the hopeful part. Every change we covered has a simple behavior that beats it. You can fix your setup, tighten your routines, and remove the easy mistakes from your day. That's how you stay legal without driving scared. So tell me, what's the one habit you're changing first after hearing this?